Hello, everybody. Welcome to All Things College and Career. I am your host, Meg Gary.
Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Bobby Ryan. And today we have Debra Olshan-Cooper. And Deborah is the founder of Your Career Design Lab, where she helps college students figure out how to tell their story the best way to get that job.
Right. And Deborah also just has such an interesting background and story to tell. She has 30 years in public relations where she got clients onto big shows like Good Morning America and things like that and helped them to define their story and sell their pitch, basically. And now she takes that amazing skill set and applies it to young college grads and helps them discover what their story is and how to use it to pitch themselves, basically.
Yeah, Deborah shares some really interesting stories about how she's helped people, and you won't want to miss these great tips that she's about to share with you.
Well, enough of our introduction. Let's just get on to our conversation with Deborah so she can share with you firsthand all of her great qualities.
Okay, let's do it.
Hello, Debra Olshan-Cooper. Welcome to All Things College and Career. Thanks so much for joining our podcast today.
Thank you both, Bobby and Meg, for having me. I'm excited.
We're excited too, for sure. You have so much going on. We can't wait to get into it all. But,
Definitely.
So let's just find out where we're talking to you from today.
Today, you're talking to me from Aventura, Florida. And for people who don't know where Aventura is, it's between Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice location.
Yes, it's beautiful.
I bet it is.
So on the East Coast, or?
Yeah, it's on the East Coast.
I kind of know where it is. My son was attending Florida Tech in Melbourne, and I know that's north of where you are, but he's actually going to take a semester off because he doesn't want to do like online learning and things like that. They're trying to get everybody back to campus, but it's so tenuous right now. It's hard to figure it all out. But anyway, we really want to get into what's going on with your career and life, but let's start by asking you 3 things that you love about your job as the president of Your Career Design Lab.
Oh my God, what isn't there to love? To be honest with you.
Oh, sure.
I tell you guys, I feel so blessed to be doing what I do and grateful. After 30 years in public relations and marketing and publicizing everybody, business people, etc., helping these kids coming out of college find their passion, find what they're meant to do, and most importantly, finding themselves is such great joy for me. I can't even tell you. And I don't know if it's because I wish somebody had done that for me, which I'm sure on some level it is, but that I just love the self-discovery that they find out about themselves so early on and where that takes them. And the joy of seeing them follow that passion. There's a quote that I have that I always live by. And I tell the kids this. It goes, when I was 5, my mother always told us happiness was the key to life. But when I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment. And I told them they didn't understand life.
I love it.
And that was by John Lennon.
Wow. That's perfect.
Isn't that incredible? And that's what I kind of do with the kids. I kind of say, the parent-teacher paradigm doesn't work anymore for what you're about to go into in life. And so it's about going inward now, not outward.
Right. And through that process, when you're working with the students, they're probably surprised at what you can pull out of them, is my guess.
You know what? I can't believe you said that. That is so true. That aha moment, it's so interesting. I have these proprietary questions. I have a whole program. But what I start with is, I ask those proverbial questions that every potential employer is going to ask you. And they come up with these very linear comments like, well, I'm organized, I like working on teams, and whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I start to go into their story. I go, well, what if you said it like this? And they're like, oh my God. Or when we start to extract and excavate their last 4 years, or maybe what they did even earlier on, I didn't know that meant something. I didn't know that's what I was about.
Right.
And we go from there, and it's it's amazing.
That's such a good technique, because when you say team player or any of those buzzwords, that could apply to anybody, and it doesn't make you unique or stand out in any way. I think hiring managers and recruiters, their eyes just glaze over when they see those words.
Oh, exactly. And you know what? I'm so glad that you brought that up, because oftentimes I'll get a call from a mom or a parent and they'll go, oh, could you do the can you help with the resume? Can you help this? And I have to stay true to what my methodology is, and that's storytelling. After 30 years in public relations and marketing, my job was to create beings who wanted to be on like the Today Show or Good Morning America, and we had to find their story. What would be interesting to the public? What would be interesting to a producer? So I really come from that background. What's going to make you ready for your 15 minutes of fame, which hopefully goes on to like whatever your career is. I'm not interested in helping you do your resume, although that's part of it, but I'm more interested in what makes you, what is your story? How can we make your story interesting? So when an employer says, what is your strength? You can go into a story. Or if you go into an employer and they're like ordering their tuna sandwich, and then they come back to you and go, oh, what were we saying? And you go, oh my God, they hate me. Like they're so not interested. I'm not going to get the job. You can go right back into your story. Well, what I was saying was that I did this and this and this for the company. And you have 4 or 5 stories you go into and you never lose it. It's like having your script. We become embodied into that character.
Yeah. And everybody likes a good story, right? That's what engages you. And if you have an interesting story and you can tell it in a compelling way, that's memorable.
That's exactly.
I think I remember reading some research, and I'm not sure where I read it, maybe like the 80,000 article that was out, but that hiring managers and recruiters will retain a story in your resume, but they retain almost nothing else. So like if they've looked at like 80 or 100 resumes, they can say, what about that one with that story that, captured their imagination, but they're not going to remember all the little details. It's just,
I think that's human nature. I mean, I'd remember a good story over a list of details.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But
it's so true. For a little antidote like that, it's interesting. I was working with a girl from Syracuse University, and she wanted to get in the music business. But I said to her, oh, so like what internships have you done? Nothing. Oh, what, club are you in? No, I'm not in a music club, and I'm like, oh my God, now we're like March and we're graduating in May, I'm like, okay, this is going to be challenging. But as we started to go into her story, I come to find out that her dad had a company called Rocket Cargo, where he actually unpacked guitars and all the equipment, like when you go on the road.
Yeah.
And when she was 8 years old, she was sitting on top of one of the crates, or whatever they are. And her dad opened up and pulled out a guitar and gave it to Paul McCartney.
Wow.
And I said, do you realize that you realized early on that music was a business?
Right.
And she did not even know what, and this is no thing, but what her dad actually did.
Right.
I go, as we talked, I go, your dad was in the music business.
Right.
Like, this is what a roadie. And you could tell people, employers or Sony or wherever we're setting up your interviews that, I realized early on when I was 8 years old that music was more than just music. It was a business. And
what a great story that would be, too.
Yeah.
Another memorable moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So that was really cool.
That is cool.
Well, I was wondering if we could just talk a bit about where this all began for you. So you had mentioned you were in public relations for 30 years. So
wow.
A lot of our listeners are researching potential careers. And I was just wondering if you might just shed a little light on what it's like to be in public relations and what would be the best education or training to break into that field, or what are the advantages and drawbacks, what a typical day is like.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you one thing, in public relations in the 30 years, no one day was alike. I will tell you that. So anybody who doesn't like, especially now in COVID, where it just seems like, the days are running into each other, in public relations, every day is different. But it does take a certain person. And I will tell you a little backstory on that as well. I was actually, it's a long story, but I was like modeling and what have you. And I lived in Europe for many years.
Glamorous.
Wow.
It was very glamorous. It was very hard, and a lot of rejection, but it was great.
Yep.
And then when I came back and decided to start my public relations firm, I got very lucky because it was in the 80s when designer goods from Europe were coming over to the US, and they were calling it the bridgewear market, where maybe like a jacket was $1,500. Well, now it was going to be, $750. And because I had lived in Europe, I was able to talk that. Like I knew what your store was like, or I know what your designs are like. And I didn't get to buy anything in those stores because I didn't have any money to buy anything, but at least I sold it. And I sold that I know how to market yourself.
Right.
So when I opened up my firm, I really had the luxury of bringing all these fashion and beauty and luxury products into the US marketplace. And for someone that loves to sell, that someone who loves to change, bring something new into the world that nobody's ever heard about, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
And of course, in my days, it was the fashion shows and the, marketing of things in magazines and doing advertising. And really, you could create a world, as I said, where nothing else existed. However, what I found is in hiring people, well, they loved to be in this field. When I would ask, you need to call these editors to get our clothes, our clients' clothes in the magazines, I would always find I made the call. I go, I go, well, what does that mean?
Yeah, right.
Well, I called, but I left a message. And my thing would always be
Right.
we're not dialing for dollars here.
Right.
We are dialing to get our clients into magazines. And it's very difficult for people to pick up a phone and make a cold call.
Yeah.
And so one has to really look at their personality to say, are you able to be persistent? Are you able to sometimes be a nudge? I mean, one thing I'd always get from people, thank you for being so persistent, which I'm sure was another word for if you call me one more time, I'm going to lose it on you.
Right. But when people are busy, you get an email or a message and you're like, oh, I'll get to that. And then you don't. You forget, or it gets backburnered or whatever. So sometimes being a little bit of a nudge gets you where you need to be.
Get you what you want.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a single thing of getting the job done.
But you're right that a lot of people that they're uncomfortable with being that. So this isn't the place for them.
That's exactly right.
That's a good tip.
Well, I used to say to people, do you want to be a worrier or a warrior? And in public relations, that is something you need to be. You need to be a warrior for your clients, and you need to be a warrior for yourself to get the job done, to make that 100th phone call to that editor and go, are you going to use that pink dress from, Escada, or are you going to do it? And in that too is becoming, and we talk a lot about this too, and we'll get into this, is networking and making the connections. It's not like, what will you do for me? But it's almost like, what can I do for you by having this dress or by having this? It's going to make your magazine look good. And I'm going to go over and above to get you whatever you need to make your job easier.
Right.
Exactly.
Make them look good. And then they're just more excited and willing to work with you down the road.
Exactly. Exactly. So there was a lot of things that being in public relations and marketing. It's a wonderful job if you want every day to be different. I happen to know, though, it also is not for the faint of heart, because it's a very stressful, very troubleshooting, sometimes business. And you've just got to be that kind of person that can handle that kind of atmosphere.
And probably be able to handle a lot of rejections. And you just got to be able to say, all right, that was a no, but we're moving on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you say that, because I spoke at Live Nation a while ago last year. And that was one of the things that I said is I never took no for an answer. When you're calling editors, or you're calling Good Morning America, or you're pitching whatever you're pitching in life, if you take the no, you've got to come back with another reason, to sell something.
Right.
You don't take the first no. You go, I would always call back and go, I don't know if you just read this, but we talked about this last week. Now it's trending.
Yeah.
And people are going to really appreciate you bringing constant new ideas. And again, making them look good at all costs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a secret. That's a great tip. But just one last thing. Do you have any recommendations for education or training that could best prepare you for a career in public relations?
Well, I think, getting a degree in communications or journalism or public relations is always great. And I'd also suggest interning.
Yeah.
This is a kind of job, kind of career, if you will, that in college, join the PR club, do things with your sorority, and then try to get jobs, even as an intern early on with no pay, and show what you're worth, show what you're made of.
Exactly.
You learn so much about yourself, I must say, in a public relations and marketing kind of capacity. There's no other, I'm not saying there's no other job, but it's one of the few jobs where you learn so much about yourself.
That's another great tip. And again, research shows that if you try things out, that's the best indicator if you're going to like a career or be successful at it. So that's another great suggestion.
You know, it's interesting that you say that. I was working with a girl recently who had two brothers. Both were engineers, one at Cornell and one of U of F. And so she kind of was like, I don't know what I want to do in life, you know, and it must have been very difficult having two brothers very motivated. I mean, I think it came from like Legos. They just decided like, this is what I want to do in life at 5. And they followed that path. But she felt very like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I don't know what I want to do. And we started to delve into more of what she's passionate about. And she loved to do vegan cooking. And, you know, sometimes people really get caught up in, oh, this is the career I want to do in college. This is the major I'm going to do. When really where you're going to find your peeps and where you're going to find your passion is perhaps in the clubs. And so it wasn't about the school so much. She got into some good schools, but what clubs or what organizations went around her passions so that she could feel aligned with the school and then go on to her courses. Do you know what I mean? And find her passion other ways.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people doing quite well on these YouTube channels with their vegan cooking and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing all that about the PR information. And I could spend hours talking to you about that. And, you know, I would love to hire you to do our own PR.
I would
you guys do a great job.
Oh, no.
No. We could definitely use some help.
We definitely could.
But who couldn't,
I'm
right?
here to help.
And to have a good person behind you. But also, we just wanted to touch a little bit about, before we get into what, you know, we want to focus on the most, which is your career design lab. We also want to mention that you had the Fresh Connect, which was your PR firm, but you also have Daycation Today. Is that a business that you're still running, or?
No, that was a business out of desperation, I guess. You know,
it sounds so interesting. I mean, I wanted to have a me day. That would be great.
Exactly.
You know, it's true. You know, when I moved from Florida to Short Hills, New Jersey, I kind of early realized that I maybe not like exactly a suburban kind of gal.
Right.
And I found that a lot of people, and this is for all the listeners out there, you know, where you may think, oh, that could be a business, or that could be, I've always thought of, go for it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially now, I'm finding, and I'll tell you another story, but there's so many kids that are going out there and following their passion on a notion of something that they feel the world needs.
Yeah.
I say, go for it. And that's what happened to me. I would say, oh, have you guys been to this town or that town? And they'd go, oh no, I don't know what's there. And I went, oh my God, you've lived here 20 years. You've never been to 2 towns over. So in my formidable way, I went to like 14 towns around where I lived, within 30 minutes of where I lived.
Right.
And I found out the nail places, the massage places, the tea rooms, you name it. I found businesses all over. And I would call the businesses and I say, hey, what are your downtimes? Well, we really don't have anybody coming in from 2 to 4. And I go, well, what if I brought people in? It'd have to be for free, but it's a numbers game. If I bring 20 people to you, 4 people are going to walk out with a gift certificate or the next,
or they're going to make an appointment. Right. Yep.
Right. Or make an appointment. So they bought into it. I created Daycation Today because I was like, it became like Groundhog Day before the coronavirus. It was, you dropped your kid off. You maybe worked out at Soul Cycle. Then you went to the market. Then you unpacked the groceries. And I go, if I do this one more day, I'm going to do something drastic.
Right. It's not going to be pretty.
It's not going to be pretty. And really, I felt that with a lot of moms. And it was like, oh, it's pick up at 2:30. You did nothing for yourself. Yeah. And it kind of weighed on your psyche. But if in those hours you were able to be with your girlfriends and you did something that you've never done before, you'd come back and you were just a better mom. Yeah. You were a better person because you did something for yourself.
Sure.
And patience, exactly. And and so many people made those comments. So once a month, I sent you out a MailChimp or a Constant Contact that said, Meg and Bobby, here's the choices you have for this month. enjoy.
We're in.
And you'd call, yeah, you're in. And I cannot tell you how much it changed the trajectory of these moms' lives because they looked forward to it. It was like a light at the end of their long tunnel. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And then I got calls from all over, like Long Island and upstate New York. We want this. We want this, because I had gotten some publicity on it. And I needed to know what businesses we were dealing with. And I didn't know them there, so I couldn't continue it, you know?
Right.
But now you've got like Travel Zoo. And now I see all those kinds of companies that obviously scaled up better than me, but the idea was there. And that's what I say to people listening. If there's an idea, go for it.
That's a great idea.
Just gonna ask you that to follow up on that. When you say there's an idea, go for it. What would you say are the first 3 steps, or how do you just get started in general? I mean, I know every business is going to be a little bit different, but what would you say are some key steps right at the onset?
And Deborah will answer that question in just a moment. But right now, we have a message from Meg. Thank you, Bobby. I just wanted to take a quick moment here to share some information about the services that I offer through academic and career advising. I help people to become certified career services providers, earning their CCSP credential, global career development facilitators, earning their GCDF credential, and certified career counselors, earning their CCC credential. To earn any of these certifications, you must first take the FCD training course that the NCDA offers, and I am one of their nationally trained instructors. I would love to be your FCD instructor and help you to become certified. To register for my course, just visit my website, Academic and Career Advising Services, or email me at meg@academicandcareeradvisingservices.com. I will put both of those links in the show notes. You can register for the 11-week entirely online FCD course right on my website. You can also learn about start and end dates and pricing. In addition, I also offer career coaching and academic advising. My services are personalized and affordable. For more information about pricing and services, please visit my website, Academic and Career Advising Services. You can book an appointment right on my website. Now, back to the podcast.
You know what? I'll give you 2 stories on that.
Okay,
This
perfect.
is very cool. I have a client currently, and he's just amazing. And he's a performer, and he's a singer, and he's a songwriter, and he just graduated Berklee School of Music, and he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you know, that's a very difficult and challenging career. And there's no doubt that someday
we actually have a podcast. We interviewed 2 guys. They teach younger people how to make it in the music business. So I highly recommend this podcast. They were amazing. We'll put the link in the show notes.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be incredible. So I've been helping him with, all the connections that I have and so on. But in this COVID time, he came up with a thing called MBL, Music, Basketball, Life. And what you were just saying, he just did it on IGTV.
Yeah.
His dad happens to be a doctor for the Miami Heat.
Nice.
And he's performed at, the Miami Heat games. But so he's kind of grown up with these guys. Now, these guys are sitting at home doing nothing, you know?
Right.
And so he was like, hey, Dwayne Wade, can I interview you? Or so-and-so,
Oh my
coach, can I
gosh.
interview them? And they're like doing nothing. And they're like, sure, I'll talk to you. And he interviews them about what music drives them when they go on the court, or what music has inspired them. Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is so great.
I thought it's brilliant. And he's an incredible host, and he just does a great job. And so I happen to know somebody who worked for William Morris, and now he's just signed a contract.
Oh my gosh.
The guy was going to sell it to like ESPN or USA Network because he thought it was such a great idea.
Wow.
So going back to your question, these are things today between Instagram, Facebook Live, all the social media platforms of TikTok, all of that. You have an idea, you can craft it and architect and design it and go for it and tell the world about it. And then, because also, I'll tell you something, moving forward in working with, now employers, These are the things they want to see. They want to see on your own, do you have 100 million followers? Everybody, it's funny. They used to hire public relations and marketing people to get them those things. Now these kids can do this on their own and bring that value into a company.
Right, right. And it's a great time to create your own content and put it out there. If you can't find a job, in these difficult times, if nothing else, it's going to give you something that will draw attention from hiring people. You will have created something that perhaps they could use or your own business, either way.
Absolutely. I think the paradigm, Bobby and Meg, have changed where, in our day, you used to go and you'd interview and it was sort of like a hierarchy. It's like, oh, I'm going to be having a boss or a manager above them. Today, it's a little bit more of an even playing field, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And so you need to come in with, this is the value. These kids today, the Gen Zs, they're coming with a different mindset. They're coming with such value if they just would understand the value that they have. And this is what we work with kids. So that when you go in, you can have a talk that the people who are hiring you are going, oh my God, I've got to hire you because I don't even know what you're talking about, but I know we need it.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to do. So like this kid, Nick, who's done that, or going back to what you're saying, I started working with about 4 kids that were just graduating, some really good schools, but coronavirus hit. And they're like, oh my God, my world's come to an end. But I happened to have been with somebody who was starting up a website to help senior citizens during the coronavirus in New York and the surrounding boroughs understand like how they can get help, what they can do if they need aids, what their children can do. And I said, hey guys, would you be interested in maybe helping this gentleman create this?
Wow.
And they built their website. They built the logo.
Wow.
They did such incredible things. We got them PR. And now from that, they were able to get real viable jobs because when the employer says, what did you do during the coronavirus? Instead of saying, I watched 10 episodes of Friends, which is always great to do. You just don't want to do that for a living. I created and designed a website called Senior Strong NYC that is helping seniors in New York and the surrounding boroughs. Boom, you're hired.
Right.
Yeah, boom, you're hired is right. That is really good for the resume.
Yeah, it's definitely showing their value. And that's fantastic.
While you're looking for a job, while you're trying to get out there, if you can create something and do something on your own, no matter the level of success, it's better than just idling,
It reminds me of Austin Belsack, who we also interviewed, that recommends creating a pitch, finding what a company needs. What do they need? What would be a benefit to them, and create something and pitch it to them. And that's also a great strategy. You could listen to his episode to learn more about his approach, but I thought that was a great strategy.
Well, that's a PR move right there.
I love what you guys are saying because it reminds me too, I just worked with a kid, brilliant, incredibly bright young man. And he was pitching, to your point, he was pitching a company in advertising, PR marketing advertising company in Canada. And they had asked a question, what is the one thing that changed your life? But you had to do like a whole video advertising kind of pitch. And so we talked about it, and he remembered, we went back in his life and he remembered how he loved skiing and doing outdoor activities with his father. But his father had a skiing accident and I think became like semi-paralyzed, if you will, for like a year or two. So that whole thing bonding with his dad kind of fell apart after so many years. And what I said to him, and he said, they have a company, it was North Face. North Face, like winter wear. You guys know North Face for sure. And I said,
in Maine, you're wearing it all the time.
Exactly. Even in the summer, maybe it's the down vest, but exactly. And we kind of came up with the idea that, North Face was kind of like their North Star.
Meaning, I like that.
Is that the coolest? And
that
you
is really
should
cool.
see this thing. And I said, do you have old videos of your dad and you skiing and stuff like that? Almost make a scrapbook of how North Face helped you find your North Star, because he wanted to do things for the disabled. He wanted to create like an environment so that through North Face where you help the disabled in different ways.
That's awesome.
He got hired.
Wow. Yep.
That's really changed the playing field. I mean, in a way, these are fabulous ideas and I love that people are doing this. But if you're out there, you got to step up your game because this is what people are doing, right?
Yeah. Oh, you know what? You are absolutely right. I actually sent his pitch to a friend of mine in finance and he's like, oh my God. It does make you think like, God, there's so much, I want to say competition.
Yeah.
But it's more like these kids are competing with themselves to bring out the best in themselves, to show themselves to potential employers, if that makes sense. It's not really about anybody else. It's about themselves.
It does. And that's where somebody like you comes in so handy. I mean, I think it's so hard for us to identify our own strengths or bring out our own story. It's
like you get in your own way.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, I hate to say it, but it really comes from, and I'm to blame a little bit, but you know, our parenting, or at least I'll speak for myself, you know, our parents, like when I think about going to Europe at 19, my parents were like, bye. Felicia.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, doesn't anybody want to tell me to stay in school? Doesn't anybody tell me that like I should be, you know, staying in for 4 years?
Yeah.
But I think it was about living out my dreams. And it's like, if this is what you want to do, go and do it. And I ended up graduating from NYU and it was all good. But I think about today's kids, stay in school for 4 years. What do you mean you're transferring? We question their ability to make mistakes and be on their own and come up with their own ideas, because we're following this paradigm of what we've kind of grown up. Like, this is how you've got to do it. You got to go to school for 4 years. You got to take these classes. You got to take these AP classes. It's changed so much. And we've kind of ruined a lot of these kids' ambition and their ability to go out on their own and do these things.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, I was reading a little bit about you, and one story that I loved is how I don't think you were ever that kid that felt like you had to be following a track, because when you were young, you pitched your parents to move from, I forget where you were, but you moved from wherever you were to Beverly Hills, but they're like, no, we're not moving. But you presented them at a very young age with why this would be a smart move for your family.
Exactly. Exactly.
And they're like, you're right, let's do it.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty good.
That's right. Well, that is my story. You know, when I was in PR and I'd speak at classes or whatever, that's really was my story, is that I found a better way. And I guess found a better way. I was watching the Beverly Hillbillies. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I loved that show when I was a kid.
I know.
Right? We all did. And that idea of that life could be better somewhere.
Right.
And I just really put it together, and I made them go and look at houses and all that stuff. And when my father felt he was ready to move, you know, it was like a year later, we did move. And it did turn out to be a really good thing for our family.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. It's just funny. I just love that story. But you're right. I mean, there is no conventional path anymore. I think if you hold yourself to that, it could be detrimental. You really got to move in the direction that best suits you for wherever you're trying to achieve.
Exactly. And, you know, it's interesting, you know, the kid who did the North Star thing, you know, you could tell he'd always reference, so many kids reference their parents.
Yeah.
You know, well, my parents don't really want me to follow this, or my parents don't want me to be in music, and my parents think this would be better, or whatever. And I have to remind them, the only thing that you have to listen to is yourself. And believe in yourself. And
it's hard to at 18 or 20 even, because, you know, I don't know what age I was at before I was like making my own decisions without considering what my parents might think, you know. So it's hard to break from that. But when someone tells you it's okay, you can do that, that's huge, because it doesn't occur to you until someone says, you know, you really have to focus on what it is that you want, and you're the only one living this life. So
exactly. And you know something, it really helps the parents too.
Yeah.
You know, because typically the parents are paying for this.
Yes.
And they want out. You know, they've raised their child, and you want that parent-child relationship as like sitting back a little bit and being just there to listen, or being there to go the ideas, and not like, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you send out your resume? And that's where I kind of come in. And it's a really smart idea to have a mentorship where my parents believe in this person, so I can believe in this person, but she's telling me differently than what my parents are telling me. But so we can all copacetically move forward.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right.
Yeah, and I think if parents feel like they've turned their child over into the hands of a professional, they can
relax a little bit. And you're right. Parents are tired of that job by the time their kids are that age. They're like tired of being did you get this in? Did you pass that in? You know, I mean, trust me.
It depends on the...
I mean, I might be speaking from experience here. And
we all are. We all are.
But yeah, so no, that if you can find someone that you can trust when a child is working with a professional versus their parent, it's a whole different dynamic. We all know that. I remember trying to teach my kids to ski, and I just finally put them in ski lessons, and it was like a relief.
Yeah, that's right.
The instructor got him up in skiing with no whining or complaining at all. But when I was trying to do it, different story. It's a similar dynamic.
Right.
That's exactly right. So it really saves relationships. It just saves so much time and energy because the kids don't need the stress right now. That's the whole thing. When we architect, design, and curate their careers, it's what have you done in the last 4 years? But now it's not that, what have you done? What have you done?
Right.
It's, let's take it. Let's start to lay the foundation. Let's find out things maybe from your past that you didn't even realize because you haven't had the time. During this COVID time, I came up with a line about Incubate. It really was a time to Incubate.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. You have time to incubate your thoughts.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Incubate your thoughts because you get into college. What clubs? What sorority? What classes? And then you come out and you're going, oh my God, I still don't know what I want to do or be or whatever. And it's a very stressful time where if you just kind of take it down and go back to like the organics of who you are and what you're made of, you kind of could breathe and think. And it is that paradigm of more inward than outward. Well, what kind of job am I going to get? I'd have kids that go, well, I need a job. I go, no, you don't. You don't need a job right now because you're not going to get one thinking the way that you're thinking. Mm-hmm. You got to think about who you are. So when you go in, you can sell yourself the way you should.
Mm. So if someone comes to you at your career and design lab, how do you start? What's the process?
Oh, it's really fun.
Okay.
I really love it, to be honest with you. So what I do is, we have a Zoom call now. I honestly loved meeting people face to face because you kind of get that kinesiology and you get their facial expressions.
I know.
It's just the warmth. I love it. But we do it on Zoom now, and it's good. So what I do is I really just start to talk and I find out what you've been and where you've gone and what you've done. And I have to say, and maybe it's from public relations, I don't really know where I get this from, but I really get into your psychology. Mm-hmm. And it really is more like a psychological analysis of where this person is coming from. So I can extract things that they have never thought about for themselves.
Well, that's a gift on your part. There's a lot of years of experience behind that, but you probably have a basic intuitive personality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so exciting to see kids go, oh my God, I never knew that that's what that was. And and then we kind of go from there. Then what I do is I start with a to-do list. And you might ask, what's a to-do list?
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Right. Yeah. And, I know both of you are going to probably go do this after this program because it's so much fun, is you kind of sit there and you go, what are all the things I've done that were fun, that I loved? Oh, when I was 5, I had a lemonade stand. And I remember a man giving me $100 and saying, keep the change, and only had a glass. Whatever it might be. Right. And instead of I had all honors classes in college and I did this. No, it's the things that brought you joy in your life. Let's go back to the joy.
Right.
And in that process, and we just sit there and we just write out. It's kind of stream of consciousness. It's kind of mind mapping. I don't know if you guys know what mind mapping is, but it's instead of pro and con lists, it's sort of you make a circle in the piece of paper with your name on it. And you just kind of do lines like did this, did that, got awards for this, or just all kinds of things. And then I have 38, maybe 40 proprietary questions that every employer or business asks you.
Ooh.
And nice. So what we do is we go through that. So when I start with, what is your strengths, for instance, which is a question everybody asks, and they'll go, oh, I'm a team player, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, okay, well, that was good. But what if you said, well, when I was a freshman in college, I decided to create my own fund and I got family and friends to invest in this fund. And I was able to make, I'm just saying this, right? $100,000 profit for their portfolio.
Perfect. Yeah. It's just,
exactly.
it tells so much more. Are you familiar with Mark Savickas? He he has a career theory called, it's the narrative construct approach, but he has a series of questions that he asks to try to draw, who you really are out of you. And some of the things are like, who's your role model, or who do you most admire, or what was your favorite movie or book, and just ways to try to draw out what really excited you and what inspires you.
That's exactly right. I am familiar with his work. And that's sort of what I came up with, not from him, but just on my own, a to-do list. Because I used to do that with my daughter, like if she wanted to go to a different school or a sleepaway camp. Mm-hmm. What are the things that brought you joy from the last camp? Things like that. And that's exactly what I do with my clients, is finding out that kind of also, what's his name? Simon Sinek, your why. What is your purpose in life? Mm-hmm. Not what people have told you what your purpose should be or what you think your purpose should be, but organically what your purpose should be. Yeah. I found out my purpose when I was 12, and I realized that's where it came from. Well, I was trying to sell my parents on moving to Beverly Hills, which was great, was the idea that, oh my God, even at 12, I had the power to change the mind of people.
Wow.
That's powerful.
Yeah, that is.
And where can that power go? What else other things can I bring to the table that might be of importance to people to make their lives better?
Mm-hmm. And going back to that time, I'm just imagining this because I don't know what happened, but obviously if your original approach might have been, why can't we go? I want to, and realizing how immediately that doesn't work, how you have to come up with a concrete plan.
You probably had to develop a good story.
Yeah, I'm guessing you did. And it's so impressive you did that at such a young age.
That is impressive.
Mm-hmm. I did. I cut out pictures like from magazines. Yeah. And I was showing my mom like what nail salon would be great. Like I went full out. Wow. But I got to tell you something, you guys, what I did at 12, I was doing at 20s and 30s in my PR business.
Yes, amazing.
It's really crazy. And that's what's so exciting with these kids. One of the boy who did the North Face thing, he was realizing, he said, I was doing like GarageBand at 10. Like I was creating my own music at 10. Yeah. Now, when you're going to go speak to Live Nation or Sony Records or something like that, that's a more important organic story than all the classes you took at college.
Definitely.
It is.
Yeah, definitely.
So cool.
And I love the idea that you give credibility to things that they enjoyed, like their clubs that they were interested in or how they spent their pastime, because truly the careers 10 or 15 years from now, we don't even know what they're going to be. Just like a lot of the jobs we're doing today podcasting was not around, 15 years ago. So it's interesting.
To develop their other interests outside of their coursework and giving that, like you said, Meg, credibility, because it means more than just how I passed my time. There's more meaning to that. And I can see how Deborah, draws that out. That's perfect.
And
that's so true.
And not to detract from the AP classes or whatever. I think all of that
of course not.
Provides such a solid foundation to learn and grow and pivot. But it is...
it's a whole story. Yeah. So what do you do if someone has a bad GPA? How do you not spin it? I don't want to use the word spin, but but how do you compensate for that? Some employers are still looking at that when you coming right out of college, especially. That's one of the things they still take a look at.
You know what I would do? I had somebody like that actually. And what came up for us is all the things that they were working on, like doing extracurricular or working on things for themselves.
Right.
Just in that stage in their life overrode the school part.
Right.
And there is a way, again, you're right, not to say spin it or what have you, but there's legitimate reasons for things.
Right.
And this is the thing. We hold these kids to a standard that quite frankly, in the end, doesn't mean a bag of freaking beans.
Yeah. Right.
Like I get really passionate about this, but your GPA or your AP, like when people go AP classes, I was because college ready. I was college ready when I went to college. Like in my day, come on. It's like a whole money making thing. We've got to extract what I could get into a whole thing about that and what's so interesting about COVID, right, with colleges today is that's leveling that playing field. It's like the curtains being pulled from the Wizard of Oz and we know who's pulling those strings. Yeah. So I think it's a really cool time. Like I said before, is that these kids now, It's about them. It's not what school you went to. It's not your GPA. These are things that don't make you.
I think
make you.
It's a lot about the skills that the employer needs
That's
that they
right.
bring to the table.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, whether it's the kid, like I said, it's the kid who created this, fund, if you will,
Right,
for this,
right.
It was incredible. But here's an interesting thing, you guys, the way he was selling it, he went into these companies like BlackRock and Merrill Lynch and sort of saying, I came up with this fund. Well, come on, you're not making $100 million for someone. You made
Right.
$50 for someone, $100 for somebody. So he was selling it in the wrong way. Where if you say, this is the way my mindset is, this is something I'd love to bring as an offering down the road. I know I'm not there yet.
Right.
This is my thinking. I used to have, when I had my PR firm, on the phones in those days, the phones that actually sat on the desk, not rotary, but the touch tone ones.
Right,
yeah.
I would say, who, what, where, why, and how. And I'd go, it's a thinking. So, I'm telling you guys, I had kids from Yale and I had kids that came from a community college. And I found it so interesting that they'd get off the phone and they'd go, okay, Deborah, I've set up this whole, let's say, event. I'd go, great, let me hear about it. And I'd ready for the who, what, where, why, and how. And they'd go, and they'd tell me the whole thing, all excited. I go, well, when is it?
Yeah.
And it'd be like crickets.
Yeah.
And I'd go, okay, now you got to call back the client, which is going to make you not look that great, and ask when. You need to get all of those answers in the first phone call.
Yeah.
You do it once, not twice. And it was interesting who had the thinking. And again, it goes back to showing that thinking because he was selling it like, I've got something amazing that you need. Well, Merrill Lynch doesn't need you. Do you know what I mean? That. And so I had to respin it in a way of that value to somebody. And then he got 3 job offers.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Just that this is his pastime, his passion, and he's working on it and he wants to get better at it kind of thing.
That's right. But he's bringing something to you that maybe somebody their freshman year who did follow that path, like Morgan Stanley and all of that kind of thing, maybe doesn't have.
Right. That innate desire or drive.
Yeah.
That's right. It's a thinking. I'd rather hire someone who's got a thinking over someone who's got good paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How are things changing right now with COVID? Has your approach changed? Are you telling your clients different things now? Or is it pretty much the same because the same tools still work, still apply?
It's a little different in that, and what really upsets me is, when they're saying 41 million people are out of business. And I know on a higher scale it is, I wouldn't want to try to get somebody who was making 6 figures a job today. But for kids in college, there are so many opportunities out there.
That's
and
great
I really
to
want
hear.
people to hear that through this podcast.
Yeah.
There are opportunities like you can't believe. And going back to what you guys were asking me about how I go about that, so we ask the questions, we start to put together stories. Like, that's a great story. If they ask you that, you can say this. And we go through all of that. And then with the opportunities, what we do is we look up those people. And we see if we can match some of what their background is with the potential company.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an inside secret, or maybe people know how to do this, but we do that. We craft what it is that they're asking for or who that person is so that they can connect on an emotional level.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And if you can connect emotionally and create some experiential feeling, you're hired. You just are. And I just had that with somebody with the music guy. I set him up with the VP of Republic Records. And when I was talking to the guy, I was saying, oh yeah, and he's come up with this thing, MBL, music, basketball. And the guy goes, oh my God, I love the Heat players. Oh my God, because I grew up in Miami. Who knew?
Right.
I grew up in Miami. I go, well, if you play your cards right, you might get a front seat. That's how but exactly, like all of a sudden he went from musician to now they can connect on a level that probably anybody else he interviews can't.
Yeah, you're right. That is so key.
Yep. It's all finding that connection. And that's something I did a lot, in my PR firm, where they would come to me because they knew I could deliver, but I would take them out for lunch, or in those days we sent little gifts. It's just saying, hey, I care about you. I care about you doing your job. and I'm here to help you in any way I can.
That's awesome. So when you have clients come in and they haven't been to college, what's your approach then? Or do you have clients that come in that haven't been to college?
No, I haven't had anybody who hasn't gone to college, but there are ways of crafting whatever they've done, or maybe they took some time off to develop something.
Right.
There's always value in whatever somebody does.
Right.
It's just, again, how you use that kind of PR and marketing to craft it in a way that brings value. And I got news for you today. Well, you know what's going on. Like you're saying, a lot of kids this year are going to be taking time off to find themselves and to do things that, make them into who they are. And employers moving forward are going to have to take on those people.
Right.
A lot of kids aren't going to college.
Yeah. And they may say, so how did you spend that time during the pandemic, during COVID? What did you do? That's going to be probably a question a lot of people get asked. So it'll be interesting, what you make of it and what story you can tell.
I'll tell you something. It's so interesting. I know so many, people who have called me and said, oh, my daughter or my son wants to take a gap year. What does that mean? What do you think? It used to be, go off to Europe or go.
Yeah, can't go to Europe right now.
You can't go out your front door. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest, right.
Let's be honest. Right, exactly. So the things that you can do. I know of a kid who is a magician. And he's really honed his magic skills,
right?
And he's going to be going out to a school in California. Well, he's not going to be doing it right now. But what he's done is he's checked out local schools and online doing Zoom classes, either teaching magic or doing magic classes for the young kids. Now, that's something down the road with a company that would just go blow your mind.
Right. Yeah, it would.
And
he should start a YouTube channel.
Yeah. He already did.
All right,
exactly
there you go.
Right. Thank you. That with YouTube, and do you know that people on YouTube, if you just start with 1,000 subscribers, you can actually start making money from YouTube.
Right. Right.
YouTube's a huge money-making thing. IGTV is going to be the same thing. Who would have ever thought that this kid who started a little thing talking to basketball players could turn into a reality show?
Oh, you know what I wanted to ask you about that? Does he play some of his own music on that as well?
Yes, he does.
Smart kid.
Yes, he does. Well, it's interesting you say that because Chris Bosh, one of the players for the Miami Heat, doing nothing right now. Well, not doing nothing, but guess what? He's following his passion of music, and he doesn't know how to sing songs. Obviously, not a singer, but he can like the beats. So he sent the beats to Nick, and Nick wrote the music for it.
Oh, wow.
How cool!
That is so cool.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Look at you guys going, oh, wow.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
Yeah.
A 22-year-old who's got that personality and whatever, any show would want to, and ESPN or Fox News would love to set him up.
Oh, I'm sure. And what a fun thing for the players as well. Just, a departure from basketball a bit.
Exactly. And being interviewed, because for them, they're interviewed by like, what shots did you do? Or how did you play against that team? They often, some of the like B players, you know what I mean, on the basketball team, they don't get asked, what was your childhood like?
No.
How did you come to that? So they're loving.
Yeah.
Everybody loves to tell their story.
They do. And that's what we're finding with this podcast. It's like,
totally.
It's so interesting for us. I love hearing people's stories, and people like to tell their story. It's a win-win.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
And people, I love what you guys do because it does disseminate such valuable information that, again, we really didn't have in our day.
Thank you.
Thank you very
so
much.
crucial for parents and for kids and for educators to know that there are other ways other than that trajectory
Absolutely.
that we've all come to know.
If anything else, we have learned that it's amazing, how they fell upon their careers. And so much of it's not planned out. Unless a specific career like a general surgeon or a physical therapist or something like that. But so many other people just sort of happened into their careers.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I'm so glad you actually brought that up. It's another funny story, but I had seen a psychic. I was modeling, right? This is before I started my PR. This was long before I started my PR firm. And he said to me, you're going to be in PR. And I'm thinking,
wow.
I don't even know what that meant. I thought it meant like Puerto Rico or something.
Yeah.
I was like embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I'm paying $50. I'm like, what? I'm not going to keep this like modeling job. And he goes, nope. He goes, you're going to be working. And he goes, and you're going to be working for a very famous person, like a celebrity, and you're going to be working on a disease. I'm like, oh, get me out of here. Like,
you did.
This is such bull, whatever.
Wow.
I walk out of there. I meet a designer and he goes, you should be in PR. And I'm thinking, I had the cassette at the time on my Walkman. And I'm going, PR. What is that? Oh my God. The guy just said that. Long story short, I meet this woman who has a PR company, exactly what you're saying. And she's like, oh, and we've got ET again. I don't know. I like didn't ask questions in those days. Now I ask a million questions. But I was like, okay, I don't know what ET is. I like the movie ET.
Right,
Maybe she talked about that.
Yeah.
And anyway, I start the first day and it's like, Dear Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like,
What?
oh my God,
Wow.
this is the celebrity. And 2 months after that, AIDS Project Los Angeles that had just been formed, APLA, we put on the first ever commitment to life AIDS benefit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there you are working for cure a disease. Yep.
And
Can you imagine?
And
You must have been
Elizabeth
blown
Taylor
away.
was so involved in that, right? And
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Correct.
What a great story.
spokesperson for that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep. I was out in LA and she's like, will you come to UCLA with me? Because she was going to see Rock Hudson. I'm like, what are you saying? No, like you don't say no.
Let me check
I'm like,
my schedule.
Yeah, let me look.
Let me see,
Liz.
see if I have an opening.
Yeah, but all I could keep thinking of is exactly what you're saying is the psychic.
Yeah,
The
right.
psychic. It was incredible.
That is bizarre.
And
You never know.
And the same with MTV. One day I was like in my apartment, I didn't have a job, and I looked at Time magazine, and in the back wrote about like this guy who was going to create this program with fashion and beauty and luxury. I'm like, oh, I would love to do that. So I cut it out. I put it in my Filofax book. Remember, we had Filofax books, which I still do.
Yep.
And I went to Time Warner. I had got an interview, and the guy starts to talk about, well, this is a new program. It's going to be fashion, beauty. And I'm like, oh my God, where's he going with this? With that, I took out my book. I go, are you talking about this? And he goes, you're hired. And I was working with Bob Pittman, the creator of MTV.
Wow. That's
So to your guy's point, that is what life's about.
But you know what? You have to give yourself a little credit there because not to take too much of a deep dive into career theories, but there's another one, John Crumboltz, that has the happenstance theory. And he talks about how you have to be open and aware of opportunities when they do come your way and be ready to jump on them.
Right. And
That's
you
correct.
clearly were. You jumped in. And that's what you're saying. You were saying earlier that, just do it. If you think you have an idea, just do it. But we have to start wrap
this up.
But I would like to ask just real quick, what would you love to leave us with if you could tell college students that graduated this year or will be graduating soon? What one piece of advice would you leave them with?
You know what I'd leave them with? That if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. And the quote that I had said before about don't be a warrior, be a warrior. All these kids are warriors. And just to believe in yourself that you can claim your stake on opportunities that are out there because you all deserve it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, just to believe in yourself, to believe that what you have to offer brings value, and go for it. And don't doubt. Don't have doubt.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool. And just one final thing. How can people reach you, Deborah?
Absolutely. I'd love to hear from your listeners. They can reach me through my email, which is info@yourcareerdesignlab.com. They can visit my website at www.yourcareerdesignlab.com and, find me on Facebook and Twitter, and it's all on my website.
Okay. And we will include all of that information in the show notes, so you don't have to worry about writing this down if you're driving along.
Yeah. Definitely. If you're interested in getting some help in this direction, I would definitely reach out to Deborah. I can just tell not to mention all your experience, but all your connections and your passion behind it. It's the trifecta right there. So anyway.
Absolutely.
We usually end our podcast with a quick rapid fire series. Are you willing and ready to do that?
Absolutely.
All
Let's go for it.
Okay, here we go. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh gosh. I think happy.
Happy. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we covered that. Isn't that too funny? Just like John Lennon. Happy.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yep.
All right. What fictional TV family would you have been a part of? Are you going to say the Clampetts? Because
Beverly Hills.
You know what I wanted to be is the Brady Bunch.
Oh my
I wanted
gosh,
to be in the
yes.
Brady Bunch.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, so did I. That's
I
terrible.
mean,
That's
they had
embarrassing.
the coolest house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just a cool family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool family. Yeah, it's so true. All right. What did you have for breakfast this morning?
I had a Ezekiel, I can't even say it, toast with banana and almond butter with chia seeds.
Ooh. See, now I could eat that. I do banana and either peanut butter or almond butter all the time. So that's chia seeds. I'm going to throw those on next time. Okay. What have you recently watched, if you've recently watched anything?
Oh God, what have I been? Oh, I've been watched a lot, to be honest with you.
That's all right.
Oh God. I like documentaries.
Yeah.
Let me put it to I binge watch a lot of documentaries because I love, again, those storytelling. I love knowing about people's lives and their backstories.
I know.
Yeah.
There's something about it when it's a true story. Like even if you're watching a movie and it says it's based on a true story, it does pull me in even more because it's like, wow, this happened, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Bobby and I
Right.
just watched the whole Michael Jordan one, and
Oh yeah.
that
The
was
Last Dance.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
really good. And
that was so good.
and I watched the Lance Armstrong one too, which was also really good. I digress.
I love that.
Yeah, I
Yep.
do too.
All right.
Oh, it's so true.
If you were invited, would you go on SpaceX?
Yeah.
Well, some people be like, no, man, that's not for me. But, oh, yeah. You're a hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm a hell yeah. I'm an adventurer.
That's
All
a
right, I
strong
love it.
yes.
Okay. I mean, now that you had this fortune teller or psychic or whatever it was tell you half your future, here, this question's kind of interesting. So are you superstitious?
I'm not superstitious. Well, I guess I am, but I do look for a more ethereal way of dealing with life. Like I think that there is a bigger thing out there for us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
No, I
sometimes we try
totally
to
do.
control it, but by losing that control, like what we talked about today with the kids and everything, that's when the universe gives things to you.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that too. All right. First thing you notice about a person.
Their smiling eyes, like their eyes, their face,
Yeah.
what it says about them.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. The smile is what I always notice too, but I like that smiling eyes. I really like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's like the Tara Banks thing, like smiles,
Yeah.
like smile.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah. Yep. I love that. Okay. Most adventurous thing you have done or would like to do?
I have to say, I'm pretty adventurous. The best thing I loved doing was biking throughout Vietnam and China one time and jumping out of a plane.
Oh my
Jumping out of a
gosh,
plane.
Deborah, you are. I love it. I want to hang out with you.
That's a 1-2 punch right there.
Yeah, it sure is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you a good cook?
Oh no, I'm horrible.
You don't have
Horrible.
time for that. You don't have time for that.
Yeah.
I wish I was. I know during this time everybody's doing it. That's something I'm not really that interested in.
I'm
I'm
not
not interested in it, but I'm not good.
Yeah.
I'm not interested or good. So.
Oh, I love you.
Okay. All right. Last one. Teenage celebrity heartthrob.
Sean Cassidy.
I do run. Never asked me to sing, but you know, I couldn't help myself. That was awesome. Way to go. I love Sean Cassidy. Who didn't at that time? Gosh.
Right?
He was a hot
Exactly.
throb.
It was David Cassidy and I share a birthday, so that was always the,
Oh, wow.
you know,
It's
I
meant
was
to be, Meg.
I was the envy of the 6th grade class, you know.
That's so funny. I had a friend who had gone to Palm Springs and was in the Monkey Mobile. I was so jealous of her that year because she
wow.
hung out with Davy Jones.
Yes.
And I
Oh,
met Davy
Jones.
Jones later on, and I was telling him the story, and he looked at me like I was invisible, and that my crush went out. He was like, yeah, so what? I'm like, and she loved you. And I was so jealous. He's like, okay, whatever. Next.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't like you anymore.
Don't like you anymore. Yeah. That's it.
funny how meeting somebody in real life can completely change your opinion. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Deborah, thank you so much for coming on. And I know you shared a lot of valuable information with our listeners. And like I said, anybody that's interested in getting some help, head on over to your Career Design Lab and get in touch with Deborah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm here to help anybody who's interested in finding their passion and turning it into a paycheck.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. So, Deborah, I just had so much fun with you today. You have a ton of energy. Your stories are great. And I feel like, what haven't you done?
Yeah.
But thank you for joining us today. And hopefully we'll see you down the road somehow in some way.
Great. Bobby and Meg, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having this podcast to help so many people out there find their way.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Deborah. Have a great day.
You too.
Have a great day. Wow, that was an amazing podcast with Deborah. Talk about a bundle of energy. You can just imagine how much energy she puts into her clients.
Absolutely. She has a great personality and her passion for helping others really comes through, and her wealth of experience.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I think she shared so many great tips, and the podcast just flew by today. We both really enjoyed this conversation with Deborah.
Yeah, we sure did. We could have talked to her for a lot longer. We may just do that.
Absolutely. But thanks for coming on today, Deborah, and sharing all your amazing knowledge. And for anybody interested in Deborah's services, all of those links will be in the show notes. So head on over to your Career Design Lab, and Deborah can help you out with all of your planning needs.
Yep, yourcareerdesignlab.com, and you will find out everything you need there. And while you're at it, you can head on over and rate and review our podcast. That would be a big help, and we really would appreciate it.
Right. If anybody out there wants to help us grow a little bit, we really appreciate anybody that takes the time to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. That helps us out a lot.
Sure does. So thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week. And this has been an Academic and Career Advising Services production.